Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiator, and welcome to another episode of Matt Randomly in His Car. Wiltshire, I am in you. I'm in Salisbury Plain, more or less. Well, I'm near Salisbury. I'm doing my usual thing of going to pick up some antique swords to sell on my website, Eastern Antique Arms, link below. And what's the great thing about going around to pick up antique swords is going around to pick up antique swords, but also the fact that I get to visit places and means I can do filming as well and visit nice places. So I just stopped by the road here. In fact, this road is closed because there's some roadwork stuff going on. But I noticed something that might be interesting to you. This be the kind of thing that Lloyd on Lindy Bay's channel is more likely to talk about, but I saw one, so let's go and talk about it. What have I found? Can you guess? So before we go and look at the thing that I found, I just thought I'd say how much I love Salisbury Plain. It's just, I can't explain why, I just love it. There's so much of historical and archaeological interest around here, but I just love the landscape. I love the fact that it's the car to go past. It's the truck that's just met the closed road that I've discovered. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, some people find it quite flat and quite boring. It's not really flat, it's kind of rolling, but kind of, some people find it a bit bleak and featureless, but I like that. I like plains and moors and places like this. It speaks to something deep within my soul. I won't get too emotional, but I just like the fact you can see a long way. I don't know whether it's my inherent sort of insecurity or something, but I like places where you can see people coming from a long way off. I feel more vulnerable when I'm in places like forests and stuff like that. I like forests, but anyway, I'll stop rambling. This is a really cool landscape, but the fact that you can see a long way is really important for the thing that we're going to go and look at, and that thing is just behind me. Ooh, let's try and point my arm and there we go, it's there. What do you think it is? Well, so if you look at where it's located, looking out over this vast expanse of space where you can see a very, very long way in any direction. So it's on the top of a hill. I am on the top of a hill. It's a small hill, but because all the hills around here are quite low and rolling, you can just see for absolutely miles. And what it is a World War II pillbox, or well, essentially observation post. And you find still a lot of these around in the United Kingdom. And we're going to have a look at it in a second, a little bit closer. I can't get inside it because it's inside a farmer's field. I'm not going to trespass. I'm not going to climb across the barbed wire fences. It sounds potentially painful as well doing that. But I can get pretty much up next to it, and there are a surprising number of these all over the United Kingdom. I'm sure you find them in France and Germany and you know, other places, Italy and other places in Europe where the war raged. Obviously the war never came to Britain, but let's not forget that in the Second World War, certainly in 1939, 1940, 41, there was still a very real, a very tangible belief amongst the British population that the war could come here. And you know, the Home Guard were training for real. They were doing real things as well. You know, they were doing really useful things to do with the air raids that were going on and coastal defence and this kind of stuff. But additionally, they did genuinely think there was a chance that German paratroopers might arrive in Britain. And so things like this, although it's a measly little kind of, in defensive terms, it's nothing much at all, they were very important positions for observation. So let's go and have a little bit of a closer look at it. This incidentally, so just look, you can see how far around my little car, you can see how far around you can see in every direction from here. And this town, you can see all the buildings are quite new, so there probably would have been very few buildings, or if any at all, here when this pillbox was built. So this pillbox is much older than those houses over there. Those houses look kind of 1990s to me, maybe 1980s. And this pillbox, of course, is 1940s, I would think, or perhaps 39. And yeah, this is Old Sarum where we are here. So this town is Old Sarum, Old Sarum. Not sure how the locals say it actually. And you can see what this is a concrete construction. Now this is archaeology. You might think, oh, that's too modern to be archaeology. Well, not really. Oh look, there's the doorway. That's nice. So you can see here that there are lines going across. Wait for this car to go past. You can see here that there are lines going across, and those are planks. For any of you who don't know, I grew up with my father being a civil engineer, so I just kind of knew this stuff from an early age. But when you make a concrete structure, you make a mould for it, and then you pour the concrete in. And these lines that you can see on here are the planks. They're just planks of wood. So this is where the planks of wood were on the outside and the concrete was poured in. So that's why when you look at concrete buildings you get these lines going across them, because that shows where the wooden planking was that the concrete then set against, was cast against, essentially a mould. And you can see the whole thing has just been moulded dunk. It's like almost like a wargaming thing made of resin or plastic or lead even, just kind of cast in one piece, dunk, right where it is, ready to go, boom. And you know, it's not going to stop a tank round, but it will stop rifle rounds, it'll stop machine gun rounds. You're not going to be able to shoot rifle shots through that. Now, these little posts here are primarily for looking out of, but you can see from the way that they're sort of angled that they are designed to be shot out of. Whether they would have had something like a maybe a Bren gun, or perhaps even something like I suppose some type of old Lewis machine gun or something like that, it depends what the local sort of volunteers essentially had. We are on Salisbury Plain, so it's possible that some of these might have been serviced by the regular army rather than the volunteers. But anyway, they may or may not have had machine guns in these sometimes. I imagine it was just light machine guns, so things like Bren guns and stuff that would have been carried around. But usually these would have been rifle points and observation points. I mean, primarily, this is not hugely defensive. This is primarily really something that's built for observation. So here on the other side you can see the same thing with these little angled slits and round the side. So there we go. There's not an awful lot more to say about this, but I thought you'd be interested. I guess for some people who don't live in the UK, anybody in the UK probably knows there's loads of these around. You might be surprised to know that these will be pretty much in everybody's local area in Britain. No matter where you live, you can find one of these. For a lot of people, you'll often find that they're hidden away behind things or under things. Some of them obviously have been dismantled, knocked down, built over, whatever. But there's a surprisingly large number of these still around in the UK. And I kind of like it because it kind of reminds you of the fact that you know, history's all around us, and you know, frankly, World War II may not seem that long ago, but it's getting further and further away as we all get older, so it is history. And we should never forget, of course, that in those days in 1939, 1940s, whole nations of Europe were torn apart, and huge numbers of people, you know, lived in fear of what the next year was going to hold. And things like this concrete little pillbox, as we call them, are, I think, reminders of that and of what that generation lived through, and the fact that we never fucking want to go through that again. Anyway, I hope that's been a little bit interesting. I'll see you for the next bit. I'm going to go looking for some more history. Let's go. See you guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We have extra videos on Patreon, and you can follow us on Facebook.